almost. This is the moment that binds us all Indians. We watch expectantly its movement from when it hits the coast of Kerala and then its journey to the rest of the country. This is when we can exhale. Monsoon brings relief from heat, water for crops. In fact, I believe that the smell of rain on the hot earth is the best perfume that you could capture. Monsoon is our true finance minister. I'm Sunita Narain, and in this show today, I want to talk about the monsoon. I want to talk about the value of each raindrop. And I want to share with you my journey to learn the extraordinary ways in which traditional societies had evolved to live with rain. Many years ago, when I was much younger, I had traveled to Cherrapunji with my colleague, late Anil Agarwal. Cherrapunji, as you know, is the wettest place on earth. But there we saw a signboard that said, "Water is scarce, use carefully." Now in Cherrapunji, it rains in meters, not even in millimeters. And coincidentally, just after Cherrapunji, we went to Jaisalmer. Now, Jaisalmer is a desert city in Rajasthan. But if you read about it, you will find that it was a halting place for caravans. It was on the route of caravans. Massive flourishing trade over there. A beautiful fourth city. But here, rain falls in a few millimeters, 50 millimeters a year. So how did they build the city? Each drop was captured in ponds. Each house harvested water from its rooftop. Each catchment was protected. So you understand that it's not about the quantum of rain, but really about how society has learned to live with this. Soon after that, and this has really been one of those periods when Anil and I were out there looking at the country, we chanced upon what you can only call an upside down saucer. At least that's what it looked like. When we stopped, we asked the villagers what it was. They looked at us as if we were, in which we were, ignorant. They told us that this was their well for harvesting water. So what they had done was to build a well in the middle, which was covered, and they had built a catchment for the well from where the scarce rain was harvested. Think of the maths. 1 hectare of land, 100 millimeters of rain, and you can harvest 100 million liters of water. That's the maths that engineers are never taught. But this is what we learned. And as we got fascinated by this water story, we followed it up. We started digging into gazetteers to understand how India had built a civilization with so little rain. And we learned that every region had perfected its own technique. The northeast of India has a bamboo irrigation system where pipes bring down water from springs. In the Himalayas, they're not bamboo pipes, but they are long canals, and they're called ghools or kools. In cold desert of Ladakh, there are the zings. But what is most incredible are what you would call the cascade tanks of South India. You can literally see them from a satellite. So every region of India had its own sophisticated engineering system to harvest water. But the logic was simple. Hold rain, recharge groundwater. We put all this knowledge together in a book called Dying Wisdom. We called it dying because we had lost this magic. We had lost this knowledge. We lost the value of this knowledge. And the reason was that when the British came to India, they did not understand local water harvesting traditions. They came from a world where water was centralized and state managed. They set up the Public Works Department. And the system moved from community controlled towards state controlled. The system moved from channelizing water, building canals and dams to hold water. Nothing wrong with this. But the problem was that it did not meet our needs. It did not fit nature's system. Think about it. Nature is about soft power. It transports millions of gallons of rain over large distances, what you call our monsoon system, using so little energy. And this is what we must learn from. Now we have canals, we have an irrigation system. If you ask, this would be called the major irrigation system of India. Minor irrigation is what is provided through groundwater. But the fact is, the bulk of our lands remain rain-fed. They depend on the rain for irrigation. 50% according to government's own statistics. These lands produce 40% of our food. Similarly, and this varies between 50 to almost 90% of the land is irrigated using groundwater, not surface water systems. So we must understand the value of capturing rain to increase productivity, to build food systems that are local, that are resilient. The problem also has been that because we don't recognize that these systems, that we are dependent on groundwater, we have really not worked to recharge every well. We have not built systems to monitor and to manage our groundwater systems. Our tanks and ponds that would be our natural recharge places have also been allowed to be neglected. Now, this is why this mindset of major irrigation, minor irrigation, must actually be switched. We must move to understand that this 22 million well owners of India are our true custodians of our irrigation system, that they are the ones who will manage productivity, and to manage it, we must learn to harvest rain. Over the years, there has been a realization of the need for rainwater harvesting. Perhaps the world's biggest program for rainwater harvesting is Manrega, the Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Act, where labor of people is used to build natural capital. Using this program, millions of ponds have been dug, channels have been repaired, check dams have been built, all to harvest water. But it has one fundamental flaw. The program does not invest in the asset that is created. It is focused on the labor of people. And most importantly, people are not invested in the water security program. Manrega, unfortunately, importantly, has been about work. Now, this is important during distress, but it is not enough. We need more than drought relief. We need relief against drought. But the good news, and this is why we need to celebrate rain, is that all is not lost. Where people have built systems, where they have protected the catchment, the magic is there to see. We went back to the villages which had started Manrega 2 decades ago, and we found that where communities were involved, water had secured their livelihoods. In fact, we found that migration had been reversed. People were going back to the villages from cities. They were going back to agriculture. They were building economies out of their land and water wealth. So, when you talk about rain, when we talk about the monsoon this year, remember it is a connection to us. This is why we must regain the art of rainwater harvesting, but it only works if we are part of this change. Last year, my colleagues traveled to Rajasthan to report on unseasonal rainfall that was happening in villages. And they came back with this joyous story about how villagers had used all the funds they had to build massive infrastructure to capture rain. Every drop was valued, it was stored, it was used prudently. And this really is the story of that we need to scale up, that we need to make every monsoon a monsoon that we can celebrate. And it is not just about droughts. Remember, as the monsoon is hitting, the news is about floods now. But only way we can manage floods is when we can build drainage so that our rivers are drained into channels, so into ponds, so that that excess rain can be held and it can recharge groundwater for the dry season that comes after. This is what the monsoon mania should be about. So let's join this movement to capture rain where it falls. Even if we get municipal supply of water, we need to be part of this movement to recharge groundwater, to mitigate floods, to celebrate the monsoon. But remember, the aquifer is underground. It knows no boundaries. So if your neighbor does not do rainwater harvesting, if the next house does not do it, if the catchment is not protected, that aquifer will be drained, will be overused, and the monsoon will be lost, and then we will cry for more rain. So this monsoon season, my appeal to all of you is, let's celebrate the rain. Let's value each drop of rain, and let's recharge our groundwater systems.